So how do you build systems that can help you go from roughly a 400,000 run rate to a million? That is currently the situation where I'm in. And I wanted to share with you what I've been doing over the last 2 months, and that is building systems that will help me reach this goal. So quick background, my name is Michael Bohannes. Me and my wife and a team of great people, we're helping consultants to stop being dependent on referrals and build scalable client acquisition systems. And what we have been experiencing over the last couple of months was some incredible growth. The best month that we've had was January, which was at over 42,000 in revenue. And that came at a cost, namely that our systems were not built for this. Our existing processes and systems were built for about like a 10, 15,000 revenue per month. So it's mostly like a solopreneur business. And that was where we were roughly a year ago. And since then, we've grown quite considerably. And so everything was creaking, everything was sort of duct taped, and it was just not scalable at all. And we were working like crazy. So we needed to take a break. And one of the breaks that I took was from content. So I stopped completely posting content on YouTube and on LinkedIn. And I said, let's take this time, let's take 6, maybe 8 weeks to regroup and to really identify where are the bottlenecks, where are things so inefficient that if we just fix this, then we just widen the bottleneck considerably. And so that is what I want to discuss with you today, also to kind of provide a certain excuse or justification for why I've been absent, and just explain what are the systems we are planning to build to get to $1 million run rate by the end of this year. So as I'm recording this, it's March 2023. And so by November, December is probably not going to be the best month. It usually isn't. But November, we want to hit 84,000 revenue mark. So what are the systems we will need to build? This is what we're going to be covering today. So what is the process that I've used to arrive at all of these conclusions? So first of all, it's a very simple 3-step process. And that is, number 1, identify the revenue goal and break it down into its components, effectively the product mix. Number 2 is to identify the bottlenecks. Where currently are we doing inefficient things? And that is like where you really know, I shouldn't be doing this. This is not the thing that I need to be spending my time on. Also, what is inefficient? Like, where do I really sense that like $1 million business owner does not do these types of things? Yeah. And then number 3 is to effectively execute on that, build the systems that prevent all of this from happening. And so I want to take you through my list of bottlenecks that I've identified, and also to look at that revenue breakdown, look at the bottlenecks, and look at the systems that I've built for some of these bottlenecks. So I'm going to move over to a screen recording and I'll see you there. Okay, so let's first look at the revenue goal breakdown. So we want to get to an $84,000 month. That is, I expect that it would be mainly composed of coaching clients. Just for information, we have a business where we do both coaching for people who want to build these systems themselves, and we also have a done for you service. Right now, the product mix is roughly 50-50. So 50% of revenue comes from coaching clients, 50 from done for you clients. And ultimately, one of the things that I realize is if I want to grow to $1 million in revenue, yes, I could do it still with this product mix, but there has to be a clear focus. There has to be a focus on one thing. And that is, for me, the coaching client. So that is the Alpha Lead Academy. This is our flagship program. We've had almost 100 people to go through it. It costs $7,500. And so that means that if we get 8 clients month, so that basically means 2 a week, we're going to get to 60,000 in revenue. So in order to, that is already, I can see that this means that there will be a lot of sales calls that we need to conduct, and that will constitute a big bottleneck. And also, this is something of a strategic decision. I said, I want this to be the majority of revenue. God knows when we get there, maybe I will get to an insight where I think let's only do coaching at this point. But right now, as we still have this 50-50 product mix, the goal is to reduce this and to outsource it to people who I currently work with. So there's also something I will share of how we do this. I plan to have 5 ALB clients. So that's Alpha Lead Blueprint. That is our done for you program. And that is at 4,000 a month. So that will constitute 20,000 in revenue. And then 10 franchise clients. And that is, I call currently the model that we have is that the people who we do done for you work for. Right now, it's effectively, I'm the point of contact. I'm dealing with the clients directly. And then I have a team member who executes, who creates the content, who liaises with the virtual assistants. So I'm sort of coming up with the strategy for the client. I manage the client relationship. And then the execution content, for example, is all done by other people with my oversight, right? So that still takes quite a bit of my time, and I can only do so many of these. And franchise clients will be then those clients the people who I currently work with, those who are executing on client activities, they will gradually develop themselves. They will develop the skills so that they can take on these clients directly. They will be the point of contact. But because I've taught them this, then I'm going to be receiving a certain franchise fee. I just call it franchise. It's just the most evocative example. And that's going to be at $1,000 a month per franchise clients. I expect to have maybe 10 franchise clients at that time. So that'll be another 10,000 revenue. So of course, this amounts to more than 84,000, but that is just roughly the breakdown. You can never predict it to that level, but that is roughly the 2/3 from coaching, 25% from done for you work, and then a small slice from franchise fees. Maybe it's going to be different, but that is currently what I envisage. This is indeed the future. The coaching clients are the future because this is way more scalable. Yes, it is possible to build an agency to $1 million revenue, but I believe that although this is more difficult to sell, coaching is more difficult to sell. I believe this is much more the future than doing this done for you work. I will still probably keep doing it because I also, first of all, I enjoy it, working with clients directly and helping them do the work for them. But also it feeds the coaching quite well, right? So I'm kind of in the coal face. I'm helping clients to actually get those results themselves. I can take those lessons learned and add it into our coaching pipeline. So there is a certain nice synergy between these two things. In symbiosis. Okay, so that is the revenue goal breakdown. And now I want to go through my processes, the current processes, and what was when I sort of made this break a couple of weeks ago when I decided I need to take a break from content because it was just getting too much and I was not able to serve existing clients. What are the things that I realized that I need to fix and improve upon? Where are the current bottlenecks? I'm going to slightly increase this. So first of all, sales calls, right? It was just getting a lot of work. I was spending 10 hours a week on sales calls and follow-ups and so on. And that just was not scalable. So I just realized I have to get people to do that and train them and to do this for me. The next thing was inefficient client delivery. I realized that what I was doing was that whenever we had a client call, and those client calls are always recorded, that for example, I scheduled client calls. Sometimes I scheduled calls back to back. Very often when you have like 3 calls back to back, you end up sort of forgetting what was said in one call because after 3 hours of phone calls, your brain is fried. I'm going to talk about what I did there, but that was inefficient because what I had to do is always to then go back into the call recording to realize, okay, what exactly are the next steps, what I needed to do. Okay, sounds like a stupid mistake, but those kind of things pile up. When you're watching this, you may think, well, obviously you're going to have to, like after the call, you have to take notes, maybe do some of the tasks. I just wasn't doing it. Okay, so that was just one inefficient thing that I was doing. And it was slowing me down quite a bit because when you have a call with someone and then you don't touch that topic with that client, it's quite inefficient. You have to get back into the call, probably listen to it all over again. And that is hugely inefficient. Okay. Point number 3, my content was quite haphazard. I wasn't really having a system to it. And so that was probably the main thing that I helped fix, which also then benefited our clients quite considerably. I'm going to show you the high level change that we have made there. Then the next thing was unclear product mix and ad hoc fulfillment. It was very much in December and in January. There were several clients who came in and they said they want something very specific. We just said, sure, we're going to do that for you. And then the people that I worked with, I was like, hey, would you like to do this one? This is how much I would give you and so on. So it was pretty much like, okay, we just got this thing. How much do you want? It just was not efficient. There was always a little bit of negotiation with it. It just wasn't good and it didn't feel professional. Also, I was just basically offering done for you clients. I was basically offering custom deals and so on. That is not efficient. So I realized that needs to change. Number 5 is scattered focus that kept creeping back. So I have, just like most people who work on a laptop, there's a couple of like distractions that very often come to me. And in my case, it's mainly about like news and anything that's happening on the cultural front. And I tended to get distracted relatively easily, or just, hey, let me quickly check WhatsApp if anything is new, right? And so that's just really bad. And I realized, okay, that is slowing me down. I cannot keep doing this in this way. The next thing was food. I was also spending quite a bit of time on anything food related. At the same time, I also felt like I was not being very disciplined with food, and you start to get love handles and all of that. So I needed to make a change there. And then various tasks that just simply needed outsourcing. Okay, so like lead scraping, quickly designing of a thumbnail of an image and so on, stuff that you think, yeah, it's just going to take me 5 minutes. Well, it ends up taking you 12 minutes. And if you instead just had told somebody to do something, you could have spent that time differently. So these kind of small tasks that you think, I'm just going to quickly do that myself, no $1 million business CEO does them, right? It's things like lead scraping or quickly designing a thumbnail or an image that just doesn't fly. You cannot have that. So there needs to be processes around that. Cool. And so those are the kind of the 7 bottlenecks that I've identified. Let us now look at the systems that I've built and the new rules that I've set up, because it's very often something you just need to have a specific rule that you then stick to, maybe a mindset change, a reframe that helps you to improve on these systems. So first of all, hire people for sales calls and train them. So that is about sales calls, very straightforward. You just need to get that off your plate, right? I don't think I know anyone who makes 30,000 or more as a sort of solopreneur and then does his or her own sales calls. Just don't know that. So I realized I have to bite the bullet. I have to start making less per coaching client and pay some of that to a salesperson because it's just taking too much of my time. I have a pretty predictable conversion rate. And so I'm going to teach that salesperson whatever I know, and they will then do that for me. So that took a little bit of time. We've had this week, actually, we had the first success. One of my team members signed somebody into the coaching program. So that's brilliant. That's going really well. And we have now regular calls with the salespeople, and it's going to get better and better. So that's that. System number 1. System number 2, buffer hour after every meeting. So now whenever I have a recurring client call, afterwards I have a blocker in the calendar so that nobody can jump on that time slot. And after every client call, I keep that time sacred. Whatever we've decided there, I just execute on it. There may be something that needs to be changed. So after a client call, whatever needs to be done happens in that hour. And whatever I need to do at a later time, then I do it later, but I at least have it scheduled and I know exactly what I need to do then. So all of this inefficiency of, I have to go back into the call and remember, then that is now history. That doesn't happen anymore. And that is really liberating, and I feel way more productive. So that's the lesson here. Create a buffer hour after every meeting, and then schedule tasks, really schedule tasks individually. When you realize, okay, this task for this client will take 2 hours, block it out in the calendar and then do only that. The content that was pretty haphazard is whenever I have an idea, I just tended to write it right away or record a quick video. That is now not happening anymore. I now have a content system. And one thing here I wanted to show you, this is what it looks like. Basically, it's a hub and spoke model. So I've got inspiration from Justin Welch, who does only text-based content. So I could have used this model, but modified it so that I can serve my audience also with video. And so it's basically what it looks like. Looks a little bit complicated, but it's actually not that much. The central unit of content is a weekly video. So in week 1, we record and edit video 1. And then based on that, I write 6 LinkedIn posts based on that video and different types of formats. And then this then gets teased on LinkedIn so that people sign up to my newsletter. I release the video on YouTube 2 weeks later, then release the newsletter and so on. And then those posts then get cycled through. You see here, post 1.3, 1.4. You don't want to have the same posts on one single topic, like bulked in 1 week, right? It's going to get boring on LinkedIn. And so this is a really good system. You create those posts based on that video, and then you simply cycle through those topics as time progresses. So you see in this week, when we've already are on video 7, still post from the video number 1 post is still here. And then topic number 2 is here on Tuesday. And on Wednesday, post number 3, video number 3, right? This is a really efficient system. I've also started implementing this with clients, and virtually all the clients who saw this, like their eyes lit up because they realized that we kind of have a real system behind it. And it's not just, hey, here's a post, here's another post. So that's quite cool. All right. So that is the content system. Also, I'm not going to show this, but I have like a file where any single time I get an idea, I just dump the idea there. I resist the temptation to do the work then and there because it's just simply not efficient. I take myself out of one specific task and get into the other one. Shouldn't be done. Point number 4, tighten product mix with a far clearer fee structure. And the practical corollary to this is that you end up raising your prices when you're doing this. So when you're offering custom deals to people, it's really inefficient. It is also kind of not fair to some other clients when you give somebody else oh, we're not going to do this, but then we're going to charge you less or something like that. It's just not fair. Let's have one product mix or one, two, three products, but they're always the same. And if people resist, they don't like it, then you can always say no to them. I'm not excluding the possibility that still at this point, I'm going to give custom deals to people, but it's right now much less haphazard and there's a real structure to it. And also I can present it nicely on a presentation. So this is the tightened product mix. Also, is a much clearer fee structure. So whoever I work with, it's always going to be the same. It's not going to be a custom deal, always the same. So I have that in a 3-page document. It's a little bit confidential. I don't want to show it here, but that is how I fixed this problem. Then this is kind of cool. I built a distraction log file. Now it's a little bit embarrassing, right? But when you actually see how you get distracted, like you're working on something and then you realize that your mind wandered, log that. You're not going to have to do anything with it, but just by logging it, you become problem aware. It does not become this background hum. So I just wanted to show you an example. This is not the real deal. I have a much bigger distraction file, but this is actually a very good example here of what I was doing today. These are real examples. It's just that I didn't want to show the entire file that I have on this, but this is, I just log what happened, right? So what did I do? I checked my favorite news source because it was open on my phone, lying there, right? The likely trigger was frustration that I'm not getting things done and how much there is to do. Next one. And that was literally, I was doing some things in between here. Randomly checked my phone while trying to think through my 84K revenue deal. The likely trigger was I encountered slight intellectual obstacle and the phone was just lying there. So here I also took the action, removed the phone out of sight. It's one of those things. You should always have it. Phone should be out of sight, but it just was there because I was looking something up, boom, and so on. And so this is a really useful tool because you become aware of your mechanisms and you also become pretty horrified at how unfocused you are, how easily distracted you get. So the more of this you do it, the less it will happen. So it's a very strong recommendation. Also, I have a rule for news because that is kind of my little vice. I'm a bit of a recovering news junkie. And so I don't want to be beholden to that, but also at the same time, completely cutting myself off of news. I tried that and I wrote about it in some LinkedIn content. It just feels like I'm holding a fart in forever. And so I said, okay, let's release it on 1 day a week. Then I can just do whatever I want. It's usually on Saturday that I can release it. And so on Saturdays, I can check out the news. I can see what is happening culturally. And that's it. And then I also have a daily affirmation because, it's easy to slip back into old habits. So I have a daily affirmation also. I'm not going to share it. It's a little bit personal, but it's something that where I kind of outline, this is my purpose. This is why I'm doing it. And this keeps you on track. This is much higher likelihood when you've given yourself the daily affirmation. It's a little bit woo-woo, but it's useful. When you remind yourself, we humans are creatures that forget very easily. When you have that reminder and you do that religiously every day, it's going to start cascading into your day-to-day work and you will be more disciplined. So that is solving the problem of scattered focus that the scatteredness kept creeping back. Build a distraction log file, have a rule for news, and a daily affirmation. And then food. I have switched to a new food system that also keeps me accountable and on track to lose weight. So how did we manage food? Of course, we wanted to have like one main meal with the family per day. That in our case was lunch. We don't have dinners as a family because it's just unhealthy to eat too close to bedtime. And so we just had lunches by default. The problem with the lunches is that they very often interfered with calls or calls interfered with the lunch. I didn't want to say no to clients. I didn't also want to block out 1.5 or 2 hours out of my day during prime calling time. So let's say from noon to 2 p.m. And my clients are all over the world, so I need to be relatively flexible here. And so what I did is that we decided, hey, let's make the breakfast the family meal. And also at the same time, let me do intermittent fasting and only eat in that time window from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. this is when I can eat. I have to get my 2,000 or so calories in, and after that, I cannot eat anymore. This is great because it also saves me time. And during that window, I basically have to tank up for the rest of the day. And it's also very nice because it's in the morning. Usually everybody's in a good mood and we just have a nice family meal together. We spend some quality time together and then everybody goes off. In the evening, we don't really eat together, but we of course spend some little bit of quality time. But every single time you have a meal, there always is food preparation time, cleanup time. It's just a distraction. It just takes too much time out of your day. And so this is what we did to fix the food problem. We eat once a day in the morning and then no more. Not eating snacks. Sometimes I'm not disciplined enough and I get a tiny snack, but at least this feeling of it's 4 p.m. I have this afternoon hunger pang and I end up going into the kitchen. And before I know it, half an hour is gone because I just quickly fried something up and then I ate something. I had to wash it up and so on. Half an hour was gone. This just doesn't happen anymore. Yes, in the evenings I'm hungry, but it's very healthy. Intermittent fasting is proven to be very healthy. Also, I've built this food diary for myself, which is very useful. And I'm tracking my calories here and I'm tracking my protein intake. So for me, the rule is that I have to eat at least 166 grams of protein every day, and then I can basically eat whatever I want in terms of carbs and indulgences. Once you are able to, this is like 600 grams of meat. So if you manage to put that inside of you in one sitting, then you don't want a terrible amount of carbs. So that is quite useful, and that's how I can maintain a deficit. This is my target daily calories for ambitious weight loss, so 2,100 calories. That's currently what I'm going for. And it's easy to track that when I eat only once a day, because I have a little notepad as we're having breakfast and I'm just jotting down what I'm eating. It's not perfectly scientific, but it's actually really accurate, roughly. It's, I think within 5 to 10%, it is going to be quite accurate. Good. So that was the food part. And then finally, the topic of tasks. Here, it's simply, I'm forcing myself to outsource every task that is not worthy of my time, and I just outsource it to a VA. And importantly, because it's good to have this structure to it, I also have to document every single task I outsource. So if it's just a regular thing and I already do it and it's already in that file, that's great. But if it's a new thing where I realize, geez, Bohannes, you should not be doing this, then I need to take time. I usually push that into the weekend, where I just hand it over to someone, and then I have to write the documentation, upload this thing here and put the link in there and so on, just make sure that every step is being followed. And then I can just simply, if a virtual assistant were to leave me, I can always reactivate and get somebody new in and say, okay, processes 17, 18, 19, and 20 are yours. Please do them every day. And this is it. So these are the processes and systems I have built that will hopefully help me scale my business to $1 million run rate by the end of the year. I'm going to keep you posted. If it won't work, we'll have to change something else. But until then, I hope this was useful. I hope it inspired you to look at your own processes, what you are doing inefficiently, and maybe there's something that you can use from this video. If you like this, how about you subscribe? Don't hit the bell because it's just a distraction. But if you subscribe, then you will land on my videos from time to time. And also you can subscribe to my newsletter. It goes out every Saturday, as you've seen in that content system. And there we inform you of all the videos that have been produced over the last week. It would be great to have you. If not, no problem at all. And if you feel like maybe we could help you build client acquisition systems for your consulting business, then there's a link in the description. No worries if this is not for you. I hope that this content, the videos that I'm creating, are helpful for you and that you enjoy them.